Hi, Charles is the Book Sage here, and this is a quick, review video of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night, the big battle between the North and the Night King and the White Walkers and the Army of the Dead. Now, I'm going to preface my review by explaining how I am as a show watcher, because obviously this is my booktube channel. I read the books. I'm currently in the middle of a reread of them with the hashtag CatchUpGOT. I'll put that down here below. We just started Storm of Swords again, and I treat the books as canon and the show a bit differently. When season 4 ended, with Arya getting on the Braavosi ship, you know, the Valimogulus, Valadahiris, of course you shall have a cabin moment, and the ship's pulling out and the screen fades to black. Me and every other book reader were on the edge of our seats waiting for that screen to come back up for one final scene. The introduction of a particular character in the books. For those who haven't read the books, I'm not going to spoil who that character is and what it is. But let's just say the book readers, we were very upset when that character did not appear. And as such, I've treated season 5 onward as alternative fan fiction. That's just kind of how I view the show. So, and I enjoy the show. I enjoyed the hell out of that battle, the season 8, episode 3. I enjoyed every moment of it, beginning to end, as a show watcher. But as a fan of the books and the lore and the history of the world and all those things, I have huge problems. And that's what I want to talk about very quickly here. Just drinking some Irish breakfast tea. Okay, first off, I expected Melisandre was going to show up right before the battle, which happened. I was not expecting her to come alone. There's a whole Essos is filled with red priests and priestesses that are roaming the whole continent, talking about the coming of the Night King and how Daenerys is the one promised to defeat them and defend them. So where are they? So what's the point of all those red priests and priestesses if they don't show up for the battle? I mean, they've been building, their whole movement has been building towards this moment. Why the hell wouldn't any of them show up? That was just stupid. And second from that, I expected Howland Reed and Mira Reed to show up with Melisandre, and for Howland Reed to be bringing Dawn, Sir Arthur Dayne's sword, you know, the Sword of the Morning, the Tower of Joy scene, because, you know, after that, it's believed that Ned took Dawn, the sword of House Dayne, and brought it back and gave it to his sister, Arthur Dayne's sister, Ashara Dayne, who many believe might have really been the person that had the affair with to have Jon. All backstory stuff. If you read the books, it gets into, you know, her name is floated around a bit. But anyway, I digress. They should have showed up. But they didn't, because Howland Reed can also verify Jon's parentage. So I'm hoping the guy shows up before, in one of these final 3 episodes, to put that controversy from Daenerys' point of view to rest. But again, I digress. We have the battle. Melisandre lights up the sword as they charge. Great visual moment, terrifying watching all the little fires go out. But then you want me to believe the Night King is going to leave like 40,000 dead Dothraki. I'm not going to raise them up and use them. Nah, they're just going to sit there dead for most of the episode. And what is the point? The point of that should have been for them to be raised right up and sent charging back. Now imagine the impact of that moment where it's the undead Dothraki cavalry charging back at you. And the Unsullied have to fight them, and then Daenerys is forced to burn her undead Dothraki army. I mean, how could they deny Daenerys that moment, having to be put in that position to do that? I mean, that's great emotional conflict, and they didn't even do it. So that was a big problem I had. But the biggest problem I have is, what is the point of all those Valyrian steel swords? Jon had Longclaw. Brienne had Oathkeeper, Jaime had Widow's Wail, and Sam gave, I think it's Heartsbane, to Jorah Mormont. Everything all of those characters did in this episode, they could have done with Dragonglass. There was no point to them having Valyrian steel swords. I loved, yes, the visual of Jaime and Brienne the 2 pieces of ice on the battlements of Winterfell defending the north. I get the emotional impact of that, and it was well done. But who makes a battle plan of, hey, we've got these special weapons that can kill the White Walkers specifically, but we're not going to use them against the White Walkers? Well, what the hell was that? What's the point of the Valyrian steel swords then if they weren't used in that way, the way they're supposed to be used? The battle plan should have been, at some point, all 4 of those people should have converged together to go to the Godswood. Excuse me. So here's how the ending should have gone down. Right? Jon is trying to bum rush the Night King. It should have been Jon, Brienne, and Jaime, and Jorah, all on their way there, which would be a little more incentive for the Night King to raise the dead than just Jon coming at him. You could have still had that. You could have still had Daenerys and Drogon come in and burn those dead to save them. And off they go to the Godswood, and then Drogon gets swarmed, Dany falls off, Jorah comes back and saves her. But then you should have had Drogon circle back around for Dany to get back on Drogon and then tell Jorah to get to the Godswood, right? Which would have given us, it would then allow Daenerys another great moment that they denied her. She should have gotten back on Drogon, and then they should have gone after Viserion, because Viserion was still wreaking havoc, even though half his face was ripped off. But it should have been Daenerys and Drogon to finish him off. And again, why did they deny Daenerys that moment? I mean, how could you take that away from her character? It should be her duty to end that threat of that dragon wreaking havoc across Winterfell. Because imagine what that would have been for the people who would have witnessed her coming and killing her own dragon to save them. And they denied her. Again, they denied her having to kill her Dothraki. They denied her having to kill the undead dragon. I mean, I loved the moment with her and Jorah sacrificing himself. It was a great scene. But her doing those other things would have been so much more for her character. And then Jorah still could have died the ultimate friend's death. He could have leapt in front of a sword or something, or to save Jon. So instead of dying for the woman he loves, he's dying for the man his woman he loves, or if you know what I mean. So, and then Sam could have shown back up and picked up Heartsbane and helped. Because they did Sam dirty in this episode. I mean, they really did Sam just dirty in this episode. I know he's a coward and all, but dude, you know, they really did that guy dirty. I did not like it. But again, I digress. So you should have had Jon, Jaime, Brienne, and Jorah/Sam and Howland Reed fighting the 12 White Walkers. How did you, ice spears against Valyrian steel swords, 12 against 5. I mean, come on, it kind of gives a throwback to the Tower of Joy where there's this lopsided fight, and so again, how could you miss that opportunity? What was the point of all those White Walkers? They were all just chilling, standing around, and you had all these Valyrian steel swords over here. You pit them against each other. I mean, doesn't anyone know how to write anything? And then you could have had the Night King and Bran in their little stare-off moment. You could have had them duking out inside the weirwood net. Because what was the point of the Night King being able to grab Bran inside the weirwood net? I get it broke the magical protection of the tree cave. But what's the point of that specifically if not for Bran to learn how to do it back? If not for those two to battle it out on that sort of weirwood net, that astral plane? You could have had that Matrix kind of thing going there with them, and the 12 fighting the 5 over here, and you could have still had Arya come in last moment, in that moment of desperation, and with the surprise kill. Now, personally, I would have loved, after Drogon and Daenerys finish off Viserion, for her to swoop down, pick up Arya, and then Arya to leap from the Drogon's back as it's flying over the Godswood down to kill the Night King. But, that might be pushing it on my part. But that's how it should have gone down, because again, what's the point? There was no actual point to those characters having those swords, really. And it's just like, what's the point of Valyrian steel? I get, yes, the dagger, but you could have just had the dagger, and it still would have accomplished the same thing. So those few things, as a book person, I have huge, huge problems with. But I could still separate all that out and just as a fan of the show, enjoy the hell out of the show. enjoy the hell out of the episode. I'll be watching that episode many, many times and enjoying every moment of it. But the book reader in me, that one who likes the lore and the history and all of these things, and I see these things being built up in the books, and for there to be zero payoff in the TV show for any of them. So that's also why I'm not worried about, having the story spoiled by the show finishing up, because how these things are going to happen in the books are going to be so completely different, even if it's the same character doing things. Like for a perfect example, just as a quick to wrap up the video, in A Storm of Swords, we get Jaime as a POV character for the very first time. Now, in the TV show, when it's Brienne and Jaime are kind of walking around on their way trying to get to King's Landing, in the book, it's Brienne, Jaime, and another Lannister on a boat. And they're being chased by like a river galley that's been sent by Rob's people from Riverrun trying to catch them. So you have this sort of trying to outmaneuver each other on their way down the river. So very, very different than how the show does things. And again, the show didn't have the budget at that time to do everything that's in the books. Even Yoren's death, when they're trying to get to the wall, is completely different in the books. So I'm not worried about the show spoiling anything. But anyway, I just wanted to get those thoughts down. Loved the show as a show watcher, but huge, huge problems as a book reader. And let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe, all that stuff, but let me know what you think about the episode, what you think about my ideas of how it should have gone down. If you agree with them, disagree with them, you think they're the stupidest ideas in the world, just let me know. You like them, let me know. What did you think should have happened instead if you have other ideas? Just hit me up down below. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, I am Charles, this is Book Sage. Happy reading.